Hey, what is up guys? My name is Kev5 and welcome to a new tutorial. Today we're going to be covering the plugin essentials one more time. I want to clearly explain the plugin, all these sections of the config.yml for the plugin, why prefixes may not be working with your permissions plugin while essentials is installed, and more, including how to get essentials on your latest versions of your server. This is Essentials 1.8, 1.9, 1.10, and 1.11. Of course, this will work in future versions likely. This will continue to be updated until 1.12, 1.13. I highly doubt it's going to stop being updated. If it ever is, I will make an update video. But for now, this tutorial is relevant and will work on your server regardless of what version it is. If you have a version that's 1.7 or lower, leave a comment below and I will provide you with the proper essentials link. Keep in mind, I do get around 10 or so comments a day now. Probably might go up more in the future. I try to respond to every comment. I try to help out everybody. If I can't get to you, I'm sorry, but I do try to do my best. So without further ado, let's jump into this tutorial. Now, what is Essentials? Essentials is a plugin that adds basic commands to your server, such as /fly, /tp, /game mode, and more. These include commands that are not in vanilla Minecraft. Game mode creative is a command in vanilla, but GM1 is not, GM2 is not, GM3 is not, /home's not, /spawn's not. There's a ton of different commands that this plugin adds to your server. It also allows you to have shops on your server. It allows you to have warps, set homes. You can set up set homes to be multiples in certain groups, so a certain group can have 6, a certain group can have 10, a certain group can have 15, and so much more. So now that you better understand what Essentials is, we can essentially go into the config.yml and start editing the plugin. Before I do that, I do want to show you where you can get this plugin at. So you're going to want to go onto the Essentials X page by Mr. Dr. Shock himself. He is an amazing plugin developer that has worked on many of these really essential plugins, and he's helped to keep them updated. He was doing Group Manager, but unfortunately he did drop support for that. If you need a version of Group Manager, I do have a tutorial. I'll link it in the description below. Check it out. So you're going to want to simply download the latest versions of Essentials X by clicking on the file you wish to download. In this case, we'd want to download the core plugin, the chat, the protection, and the spawn. These all do different things. The core plugin is the essential base of the plugin. It's required for everything else to work. Essentials Chat is your chat manager. Essentials Protect allows you to block things like creeper explosion, fall damage, flint fire, and more. Essentials Spawn, it adds homes and spawns to your server. I believe it may also add warps, but warps may just be in the Essentials plugin itself. You may not need a spawn for that. So we already have these installed on our server. It's as simple as hitting the upload and dragging and dropping all the files to your server. After those files are in your plugins folder, restart your server. If they're not working and they're not loading on your server, ensure you're running Spigot or Bucket on your server. Or if you have a modded server and you manage to have a 1.10 modded server with Sponge on it, Sponge supports plugins as well, but you must use Sponge plugins. If you need help with that, just leave it in the comment section below, or I can make another video on it on another day. So now that the Essentials plugin is installed, let's go ahead and go into the Essentials folder. You're going to see a ton of different files such as worth. These are used in the /cell command. These are all sorts of things that you can just do. These files each represent a different thing. This represents all the spawns on your server, the main config.yml, which all the settings are located, the MOTD for the server, that's when you first join. Jail.yml tells you where your jail's at. If you have multiple, it'll display all of them. Roles.txt displays all your server roles. You can edit these files to your liking. The .txt files do not have a specific formatting, so you can simply just type in the roles and like this, and they will display like that. There's a space because there are extra pages. If you go too far down in the text, it will want to put it on a new page, and you'll have to do like /roles2. So the config.yml, let's explain it. My config.yml right now And this is how most essentials x config.ymls will look. It'll look like they're missing a bunch of stuff, and essentially there are settings missing, but most of the main settings are not. Essential sign settings though, they seem to disappear sometimes, so you may have to manually add those into your file. When I get to it, I'll explain how to do it. So first off, let's go with the ops name color and nickname prefix. Ops name color, if you op yourself, that is what your username will appear as in chat. If it was, by default it's 4, so your name is a bright red whenever you op yourself and type in chat. To fix that, simply change that to like a color code that you may like. So I do 6, that's orange. We could do F for white, but I'm gonna keep mine at 6. Change it to whatever you like, and I'll leave the color codes in the description below as well, so you can look that over. Nickname prefix, by default, if you nickname yourself, it'll be like that. That'll appear right before your username. To fix that, simply remove it. You don't have to put anything in its place to replace it. If you remove it, just whenever someone nicknames themselves, nothing will appear. On the max nickname length, I recommend keeping it between 16 to 20. If you make it too high, it will cause your server to malfunction because too long of nicknames can't be read by Minecraft, and it'll cause your world to crash. And the only way to fix that is to reset that person's player data. These are not really as relevant, but say you wanted it to, this is for your tab list. So if you wanted your display name, like your nickname, to display in tab list, you set that to true. It's essentially it. The teleport settings, there's a cooldown, so if you want people to have to wait 5 seconds before they can teleport again, that's fine. That means people won't be able to spam home over and over again or spawn over and over again. The teleport delay means that someone has to wait 5 seconds before being able to teleport. Again, you can set this to 0. It's not really important unless you want to use it. And teleport invulnerability, that's, are you protected while you're teleporting? And in this case, yes you are. The heal cooldown, essentially the same thing. There's a 60-second cooldown before you can do the /heal command again. Permission-based item spawn, that can be ignored. It's not really important. Mob spawn limit, again, can be ignored. That's not really relevant to the server because there's plugins that take over mob spawning, including your server, which has a spigot.yml or bucket.yml that handles how many mobs can spawn on your server. Do you want the server to warn whenever you smite someone? If you're trolling people, obviously you set that to false. Disabled commands, these are the commands you'd like to disable on your server. You don't want people to have access. Disabled commands essentially allows you to disable certain commands on your server. As you can see here, I've disabled plugins, plugin, PL, in mail, just a few commands that I essentially do not like on the server. For spy commands, these are commands that if someone were to turn on social spy in essentials, that allows you to see people's messages. And these are all the commands. If this command is run, someone who's using social spy will be able to see it. Player commands can essentially be ignored. Basically, I'd like to see it as a default template of like, hey, you can add these to your players. They're not permissions, they're more like commands. So adding these to your permissions will not do anything. Again, you can just simply ignore that. It's not going to do anything on your server. Kits, these are essentially the things. If you type /kit name, you get one of these, and they must be set up properly in a specific format. I will provide a link to a tutorial in the description below, which will explain how to create kits both in-game and manually through your file on the server. This is essentially however you'd like to do it, whatever kits you'd like. I'm not going to go over it in this tutorial because I've covered it in the past. Lots of kits, by the way. So the next section you may not see is called enabled signs. If you want to enable signs on your server, you will need to copy this section right here, which I will provide in a paste bin in the description below. Lots of description belows today. You're going to want to copy this whole section, and you're going to want to paste it into your config.yml right under the kit section, right where your last kit is, right under it. Just paste it. Now this is incorrectly spaced. I'm going to go ahead and fix it real quick because for some reason the formatting seems to have broken. That was rather odd, but so if you want to delay how long people have to wait before using a sign, you'd set this. In this case, people have to wait 4 seconds before using a sign. You can set this to 0 if you don't want people to have to wait at all. Backups, again, this can be ignored. I don't even think this feature works. I've never tried it. And personally, I don't recommend backup plugins. I recommend using backup data storage or logging into your FTP and backing up your server to your desktop. Backup plugins are just going to clutter your server and make it run worse. Never a good thing. Now, if you want per warp permissions, say you want to have where you can, in certain worlds, a player can use warps A, B, and C, but in another world, you don't want them to have access to those. You'd set this to true, and then you'd set up per world permissions in your permissions plugin, whether it be group manager or permissions EX. List. These are essentially when someone types /list. If you're in the owner group, you'll appear as a different part of the list. You'll appear in the owners group list, co-owner group list, head admin, so on, and you could put member and so on. I recommend keeping it to only staff and then having your members as just regular stuff. Debug. Debug will essentially, if there's a problem in Essentials, it'll report it in your console and you'll be able to see that. I recommend keeping that to false, otherwise you may create clutter in your console. Essentials doesn't really mess up, so yeah, you can keep that false, it doesn't matter. Remove God on disconnect. If you are in God mode and you want to be taken out of God mode whenever you leave the server, set that to true. Auto AFK. This will set whenever a player goes AFK. I keep it at 300, which is, I believe, I have 5 minutes. That's 5 minutes, yeah. And auto AFK kick, that's essentially, do you want players to get kicked? Now, if I didn't want players to get kicked, I'd set this to -1, like so. That'll make it so people don't get auto AFK kicked. Essentially, we have it at 0 seconds. As soon as you start going AFK, you get kicked. That's how we like it. But you can do it however you'd like. Freeze AFK players, disable item pickup while AFK, cancel AFK on interacting, cancel AFK on move. Essentially, these are up to you. They're pretty self-explanatory. Do you want players to be frozen when they're AFK? Do you want players who are AFK to not be able to pick up items? Do you want them to be able to interact, and will they be able to move? Will it cancel the AFK? And we have it to true because we want AFK to turn off when someone moves or punches a block. Death messages, you can either set that to true or set it to false. If you don't want to see people dying in chat, set that to false. Allow silent join quit. If players have a specific silent join permission Essentials has, and you have this set to true, players will join in vanish and will not appear as joining or leaving the server ever. Essentially, players won't know you're there unless they find a way to figure out you're there with like a specific command that could probably find you. Again, that's other plugins. Custom join and quit messages. You can essentially edit this to be whatever you like. Ensure you use the player tag because that'll be what shows the player's name. In this case, it's a plus sign. It'll say plus player, and that means a player joined, or minus player, and that means a player quit. World teleport permissions. If you want to have it so you have per world teleport permissions, you set that to true. I keep it false. Default stack size. I have this set to -1 because I don't know why. Pretty much. Default stack size is 64. Oversized stack size is, we have that at 64. That is like, again, whatever you want. If you want stacks of 128, keep in mind they will glitch out, but you can do that. Repair enchanted. This is a /repair command. If you want it to be able to repair enchanted weapons, you set that to true. Unsafe enchantments. If you want players to have like protection 100 or protection 1000, or basically you have like an OP prison or faction server, set that to true because that's a much needed thing. You will have to have that set to true if you want like to put protection like 100 in a kit item. And then we have some of these. Really, you can read these if you want. Essentially, they don't matter. This is the default max fly and walk speed. These are essentially what players will start with. Again, these settings are heavily influenced on other plugins, so you can safely ignore these, really, unless if you don't have another plugin that affects these, essentials will. Max temp band time, you can change that. Oh, we just got kicked out of our beautiful settings. Look at that. So basically the max temp band time, if you wanted to change that, you could change it to like 300, that way it would be 5 minutes. It's totally up to you. If you want your admins and moderators to be limited, that's how you do it. Update bed at daytime. So if you were to go to bed and then wake up, your bed would be set to that bed. World home permissions, if you want to have per world homes set up, you'd set that to true and then set up per world permissions. Set home multiple. This is where you'd set up your groups, which you'd put your group name, then a colon, then a space, and then the amount of homes you'd want that group to have. Of course, you still have to give those groups 3 permissions: essentials.home, essentials.sethomes.multiple, and essentials.sethomes.multiple.groupname. The group name being whatever you put here. So in this case, you do essentials.sethome.multiple.recruit if you wanted players to have one set home. And you do expert if you wanted them to have 3, and moderator or mod if you wanted them to have 10. TPA accept cancellation. If someone sends you a TPA request to teleport to you or for you to teleport to them, it will wait 60 seconds, and if no one's responded, it will cancel the TPA request. Starting balance is how much money a player has when they start. In this case, it's $55. Currency symbol, this is the symbol for your money. In this case, we just have the regular $sign. If you wanted to have like a special name, you could put like B. You could try certain symbols. Fair warning, not all symbols work. Not all like symbols in general. You could, I'm not gonna really cover it now, but just be careful what symbols you use in Essentials. It's very important that you use symbols that are allowed in YML processing, because this is a YML file, and if you use a wrong symbol, it will break the file and reset it. Max money and minimum money. Essentially, this is the maximum amount of money that you can have on the server, and this is the minimum amount of money you can have on the server. Economy log enabled. Do you want to enable whenever someone buys or sells something? And then set that to true. If not, set that to false. If you want to disable Essentials help, like their /help in game, you'd set that to true. I have it set to true because I have a custom /help plugin. Hide permissionless help. So if you want to, whenever someone types /help, if this is set to false, then non-essentials and help, you could set this to true, and if someone types /help, they'll only be able to see the commands that they have access to, not any other commands on the server. This is your chat formatting section here. As you can see, the formatting right now is just display name and then message. Display name includes both your username and prefix and suffix. And then after that's the message. That's whatever someone would type in chat. I recommend learning this before editing it. And group chat formatting, you're able to set up different group chat formatting depending on the group. It's a pretty neat feature. It allows you to have like owner with different chat formatting than moderator, and moderator with different chat formatting from regular users. It's pretty simple stuff. Protect. So if you wanted to prevent certain things like lava flow, water flow, set that to true. That would prevent it. Keep it on false if you want water flow to work. The same goes for all of these. TNT explosion. In this case, we have it set to true, which means it will be disabled on the server. For spawning, you can disable certain mobs from spawning by setting these to true. Right now they're all false, so all are enabled. Max spawn height for creepers. -1. I recommend not touching that. I don't know what it does, but I recommend not touching it. I mean, if you want to touch it, you can. Just fair warning. If your server breaks, I'm not. Take a backup before you touch it. That's what I recommend. So next we have the disabled. So if you want to disable fall damage, you'd set that to true. Disable PvP, set that to true. Same goes for all of these. You can disable certain weather events in the game by setting these to true. If you want to allow building on your server, set that to true. If you want to make building not allowed, set that to false. If you want players to be able to use certain things, keep that true. Warn on build. So basically, these are blacklisted and whitelisted items. If someone were to place block ID 746, which I believe is TNT, it will alert an admin or player with the proper permission on the server. Finally, we got the newbies. Newbies is the spawn stuff. So we have the announcement message whenever a player first joins, the spawn point. If you do /set spawn and then space and then type in a name, that spawn will be named. So if you were to do /set spawn newbies in my case, it would set the spawn and call it newbies. And then if you went into this section and changed the spawn point to, for example, newbies, that would end up being the default spawn point on your server. So you can change your default spawn point from your group spawn point. This is the kit you get when you first join. In my case, it's just the default tools, but if you created a custom member kit, you could change that to member, whatever you want. Respawn listener priority. That is basically, do you want essentials to completely take over the respawning mechanic, or do you want to allow another plugin? If you want to allow another plugin, set this to low instead of high. And then respawn at your home. Do you want players to respawn at your home? Either set that to true or false, depending on what you want. I hope that clearly explains the essentials config.yml. I know it's a rather long and big file, but it has so much customizability that it allows you to essentially craft your server around what you want. If you have any further questions or issues, please leave it in the comments section below and I'll be happy to help you out. I promise you this works. If it doesn't work for you, it's not the tutorial and it's not me. It's likely not the plugin either. You may be installing it wrong. You may not have the correct plugins on your server. Be sure to check before calling me a jerk in the comment section, because I get that sometimes. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, have a wonderful day.